Well, I don't think that could have been any less successful.
Oh look, a free dog. I wonder if he wants to go camping. Seems keen enough to me. Let's go. This, my friends, is Gizmo the dog. He is 3 years old, and over the last year, we've spent many, many nights out camping in a bivvy bag of all things, not even a proper tent. Yes, it is extremely cosy, and in this video, I thought I would just share a few thoughts and tips and just some of the lessons I've learnt along the way, because I will say this. Sleeping in a bivvy bag with a dog might not be an experience everybody will enjoy, and it's certainly got its drawbacks, but I have found going out and spending the night with Gizmo in the woods or out in the secret fields to be genuinely one of my favourite, if not more rough and ready experiences in the great outdoors. So, the first thing that I do is always screw in that big silver, I call it the dog spike. It's a giant corkscrew basically that I then use to loop his lead around. There's a few benefits to this. So, firstly, of course, I don't have to be so worried about him running off or getting lost in the woods, chasing a pheasant, for example. But also, it means I can set up the campsite just out of range of where he can get to. So he can have a good old look, but he can't trample over the bivvy bag, he can't try and chew on the poles or anything like that. And also, I can set up his water and food bowls, which I do pretty much all the time now when we're on a proper camp. You can see on this particular day I was filming the extra shots for this video. I took him down to the riverside for a drink, where he chose to do so from the most steep, awkward angled rock possible. So what I do normally, I also put his bowl of water and food on the very outskirts of where his lead will reach, and that actually stops him trampling through it, but also dragging the lead across and tipping the bowls over with the lead by mistake as he's wandering around distracted. So I'm just going to illustrate exactly why I like to set up the camp just slightly outside of his range here. So you can see I'm not in any sort of way distant from him, so he doesn't feel like he's at risk of being left alone tied up in the woods or in the fields. And he can have a good old nose and see everything that's going on clearly, so he's not feeling left out. And I can also, of course, just stop and give him a fuss as and when seems appropriate, which, to be fair, because I'm too soft, is all too often. Of course, typically, even just trying to set up the bivvy for this simple video demonstration, I decided to do it over some hidden brambles in the grass. So after slightly moving the bivvy, again, you can see here, just setting up all of the basic things for the pretend campsite in the field. Gizmo's just tootling around, having a nose, looking in the distance, looking at me, and he's happy enough. And as I say, if you've got some food and water down for him as well, just maybe on the opposite side to where you're setting up the campsite, he's probably not going to be interested in it most of the time if you're doing stuff around him. But really what I'm trying to do is make sure Gizmo's as comfortable and having as much fun as possible while I just try and sleep in the bag crammed up with him. So here's my setup. This is the Alpkit Elan Bivvy. I'll talk about that more in a second, but I make sure my air mattress is pushed right up in the top section, so it's a bit of insulation for where Gizmo will sleep, and then either a blanket or a towel and a jumper if he needs it to sleep on and in. And this is one of the things I love about this bivvy. You've got this really good vent at the top that you can easily open and close, and there's even another vent directly above that hoop section, or just to the front of the hoop section. You can see there I've done many test nights with Gizmo sleeping in the bivvy bag himself, just in the house on the living room floor, and as you saw, he doesn't have any issue at all with sleeping in it. What was a far more exaggerated issue, however, with trying to get him to settle in the bivvy in the middle of the daytime after walking maybe 10 to 15 minutes to get to this spot, is that you just saw how relaxed he was, but he's still just constantly turning his head looking at every possible noise in the distance. So when it came to me trying to get a shot where I was going to talk to camera with him curled up in that top hoop section of the bivvy, you can see he didn't really want to go in, and so every time I tried to get him to go in, he just walked straight across. And that's basically because he was more interested in all of the noises and distractions surrounding here. So you can see he would just walk from one side to the other, to the other, to the other. But if we were here at, say, 10 o'clock at night, and A, it would be a lot quieter, B, it would be a lot darker, and C, it would be cooler, and after that, he would also probably be thinking, well, I better get to sleep soon. Look at this. He just wanted on this night to be curled up, nuzzling in, rolling around, all cosy basically. And even though he obviously is still distracted by noises, and in just a moment you'll see right there, both of us suddenly heard weird noises close by the bivvy, but you can see how much easier it was to get him to settle and to calm down and to come into the bivvy with me, and he just went absolutely flat out. So although he got to sleep quite well, he did have a disturbed night, and we did actually have to abandon the campsite in the end because a dog walker went past late on, and Gizmo must have heard the dog, or I don't know exactly what alerted him, but he started barking at the top of his voice and blew exactly our cover, and also my eardrums completely out of the side of my head. So that was fun and definitely a lesson learned. But it was one of those things at the time I thought, I wonder if he's going to get better, and if I spend more time out with him in the bivvy bag. And I've been out with him and not actually slept the night. I've just come out and let him get used to being out and about in the dark in the bivvy and curled up, and he seems infinitely more settled at night now. Perhaps he's just gone deaf from the sound of his own bark. But you can see here, to try and trick him into settling down, I literally started to get properly into the bivvy bag myself, which was a little awkward and unusual, I'll admit, because I was just in a field next to a footpath at that point. But this is, again, I just want to focus here again on the Gizmo Comfort setup. So this is why I love the Elpkit Elan Hooped Bivvy, because that's a surprisingly large open space in terms of a dog the size of Gizmo. So not only can I have that vent at the front open or closed, and the secondary vent that's more overhead open or closed, depending on the weather and the humidity, it also means that he can actually have a nose through and look at what's going on outside if I've got the cover rolled up. So I absolutely love the experience of taking Gizmo out camping, although I will completely accept that it's not always appropriate, and there are some people who will look at this and think this is a nightmare scenario, trying to sleep with a dog in a tiny bivvy bag. But in all honesty, like you say, if you can get over the smelly wet dog potential, then it's actually quite a fun little thing to do. So obviously I wouldn't take him on any wild endurance long-term challenges or anything like that. Just a quick interruption here. I just wanted to show you why I don't use the intended steel cable that comes with the dog spike, because it's got a much bigger range, but it's far more invisible and far, not sharp, but you know what I mean, it's far thinner, so it can apply a lot more pressure if it gets wrapped up around either you or Gizmo or any of your kit. So as I was saying, I of course wouldn't take Gizmo on any massive adventures that require real hardship out on the hillsides. And equally, I don't think I'd take him out in extreme cold temperatures or in extremely wet situations, because what you've seen in this video has basically all been dry, relatively summery footage, to be honest. But even just walking a dog with this sort of hair through just wet grass, he will become so wet. And you can imagine, if you've got any experience of bivvy bags, just sleeping on your own in a bivvy bag can sometimes be an absolute condensation, I don't know, bonanza. So when you add in a dog as well, and then you add in the potential of a really wet dog, that's why I started using the towel rather than a blanket to fetch, because that could be a multi-purpose item rather than trying to dry him off a little bit with a blanket. So to summarise very briefly, I absolutely love doing this, although I fully accept it's not for everybody, and it's also got its limitations, because our primary concern is of course always, is Gizmo comfortable and enjoying himself? And really, I cannot wait to continue doing this as often as possible. Thank you very much for watching, my friends. Please do give the video a like and subscribe if you want to help me out. If you really want to help me out, consider becoming a YouTube channel member, a Facebook subscriber, a PayPal supporter, a Coffee supporter, whatever that means. And ultimately, check the links in the description to find me all over the internet. If you're curious on some of my camping kit, I'll leave Amazon associate links down below, and if you purchase through those, I'll get a commission, but it won't affect the price you pay. So that's a great way to support this channel if you're looking at getting something like that anyway. Until the next time, my friends, I just want to say an absolutely massive thank you to all of my recent and current YouTube channel members, Facebook subscribers, PayPal supporters, and everything else. It's really, I'm just tremendously grateful, and I can't thank you all enough. And like I say, without you, a lot of this stuff simply would not have been happening. So I really, really owe you a lot, my friends. Thank you very much for everything. Until the next time, keep it bivvy worthy, keep it adorable dog worthy. Have a fantastic day, and of course, my friends, farewell.